Hello and welcome to OmniFit TV. This is your host Omar speaking, and today I'm going to talk about Lille's Ligue I title victory. Lille have won the French League for the first time in 10 long years. When Christophe Galtier had taken over the club in 2017, they were basically a sinking ship. Campos had fallen out with Marcel Bielsa. Things were going horribly. They survived the drop via a single point. They finished in 17th. It's taken less than 3 years for Galtier to turn them into that, to a team that finished second last season and first this season despite losing some very important players last season. Lille have somehow managed to sell certain players and turn a profit, and that somehow has a name. Luis Campos, the best sporting director in Europe and the world, if you ask me. That man is a bona fide genius. He spent his earlier years in management. If you don't know, he managed in Portugal, started out at the age of 27 in Portugal's third division. He retired in 2005. He hadn't really gone anywhere in regards to, the Portuguese title or the UEFA Cup, whatever you'd like to call it, because it's the Europa League now. And then he took more of an advisory role before becoming a sporting director. He he more so developed scouting software. He also developed this kind of software that does this weird thing. It basically analyzes players' social media accounts in order to determine certain personality traits that allow him to figure out what kind of character they have. Basically, you figure out their demeanor, which is something I kind of find very weird. Artificial intelligence really is evolving in football. Yeah. And apparently, a lot of clubs are using this software, or his software in general, because he's developed 3 types of software related to scouting players. One of those clubs being Chelsea, who don't even have a director of football. But that is not about that. Back to the topic at hand. Campos has discovered some of the most brilliant talents in world football. Some of the most amazing talents in world football. Excuse my grammar because it's falling apart for some reason. He discovered Mbappe. He brought in Martial. He brought in Bernardo Silva, James Rodriguez, Falcao, all to Monaco. And the club managed to turn a profit on their sales. Last season when he sold, this season when he sold Victor Osimhen, before this season began, when he sold Osimhen, he sold him for 70 million, and he was their star striker. He replaced him with Canadian Jonathan Davis, who basically turned in 13 goals and 2 assists in the league this season. Checking my notes. And that's not necessarily a bad return considering the fact that he brought in Burak Yilmaz, who no one gave a chance in the world, who came into the side basically to replace Loic Remy. He scored 16 times, assisting 5. And his most notable game was against Lyon when they were basically losing 2-0. Yilmaz scored 1, assisted the other, and scored the third, which was basically his performance of this season. It's just... And then he replaced Gabriel, who went to Arsenal for a huge sum of money, and not to mention he also sold Pepe for close to, I think it was 72 million to Arsenal after buying him for a fee so low I can't even remember what it was. Campos has managed to turn a profit on almost every single player he's sold, or the overall bunch of players that he has sold at either Monaco or Lille, and some people have considered what he's done at Lille to be extremely impressive. More so than what he's done at Monaco, although he has turned in close to £1 billion in revenue from his sales at Monaco. That's mad. That's absolutely mad. And every single choice he has made after selling these players has allowed the club to reap the benefits. I'm talking about Lille at the very moment. They sold Gabriel and bought Botman to replace him, who's done very well next to Jose Fonte, who's played the best football of his career at 37 and won a league title. 37 years old, and he's managed to be that consistent under Galtier. And mind you, Galtier is currently wanted by Lyon, Nice, and Napoli, who've just sacked Gattuso. I think De Laurentiis actually sacked him on air. live on television. That man is absolutely insane. That's some. The man has got gall. I mean, I remember when earlier this season, apparently he said that if any of my Napoli players return, either it was from the international break, or it was for during the UEFA Champions League games. But I think it was the international break. He said that if my players return from these games with COVID, I will sue UEFA. The gall on and he ended up and then he got COVID. He got COVID after making that statement. Like, I shouldn't laugh at this. That's not even funny, but it's hilariously ironic. Okay, I digress. I'm just gonna take this aside. Osimhen went to Napoli. Napoli finished 5th. Yilmaz and Jonathan David went to Lille to replace Osimhen and Loic Remy, and they managed 29 goals and 7 assists between them. And to put that into perspective, Galtier plays a 4-4-2. He plays a very compact 4-4-2. He used to play a 4-2-3-1, but he switched to a 4-4-2 because of the amount of space. He didn't want to give in to the other players, to the opposition side, excuse me. He plays this really interesting setup where, it's very old-fashioned. That's why I call it interesting. It's basically a defensive build-up. He builds up from either one of the centre-backs, be it Botman or Fonte. They push up in midfield. He likes to play with a midfield pivot. He's very merit-based. He doesn't actually keep players in his side if their form starts to drip. Or dip. Drip, dip. Same thing. Excuse me. He keeps players in his side if they try and maintain as much consistency as humanly possible. And it's a testament to his man management how well Jonathan David went on to do despite the fact that he struggled at the beginning of the season. Anyways, back to the tactical setup. He plays a very strict 4-4-2. He doesn't necessarily instruct the wingers to go up front. The 4-4-2 basically turns into a 4-2-4 in attack. But the interesting thing is that both strikers, David and Yilmaz, they drop back in order to confuse the opposition's midfield and defense. And in doing that, the fullbacks and wingers start to push up. That creates enough space to overload the opposition's box up front. And basically in attack, it turns into a 4-2-4 or a 4-4-1-1 if one of the strikers drops deep. That's just a basic introduction. And just to prove how well he's done with them defensively, excuse me for repeating myself earlier, Lille have conceded only 23 goals this season. They have conceded 23 goals in Ligue I. Only. To put that into perspective, just to check my notes here, City have conceded 32 in the Premier League and Bayern have conceded 44 in the Bundesliga. Lille have conceded the least amount of goals in Europe's top 5 leagues. That is a mad stat. I don't care if you think Ligue 1 is a farmer's league. When you're that, I'm not going to say based. when you are that disciplined defensively, the title will obviously show up. I mean, I don't know about you, but as I've said before, I truly do believe in the philosophy that defense brings you titles. I could have used Conte's Inter to prove the point, but I think Conte's Inter and Galtier's Lille have proven the point for me. I'd like to give Galtier a lot of praise as well because honestly, he's currently become a commodity. I mean, I look at Lyon, who I rate very highly because they were basically, one of those teams who, as they say, the streets will never forget. That Lyon team under Claude Puel in 2010 it has a very special place in my heart because of how well they did in the Champions League. Lisandro Lopez was one of my favorite strikers at the time. And, this Lille team, if they manage to do that well next season in the Champions League, and I really hope they do, they could easily cement their places as one of the best French sides to have made, that kind of progress in such little time. going from 17th in one season, second in the next, first and third. I think the number of players who actually left after Galtier and Campos' first season was close to 17. I'm not necessarily sure about the number, but you can correct me in the comments below. This team has just done extremely well. And I remember as a Chelsea fan how difficult it was to play them in the Champions League. And that just made me feel like I never thought I'd have to worry going to Lille. You know? But we did. And I think this Lille side, with Campos and Galtier still at the helm, and the club hierarchy actually listening to these two men, because it's quite obvious that they've done this amazing job, not just because of their capabilities, but because of how they have been enabled at the club. And I think that is the key here. Club hierarchies need to enable the people who actually have footballing minds. More clubs should work to do this. And I think the role of the footballing director overall in relation to Campos needs to be a lot more present. You know, we need more directors of football, sporting directors. Apparently, Campos is being linked with Real Madrid again. And in case you don't know, he was brought in 2012 by Jose Mourinho at Madrid to work as a part of his backroom staff. He brought him in as a scout. And the most interesting thing I read about the description of his office, apparently, if you pass by it, when Real Madrid's players would pass by his workstation at the Valdebebas training center, you would assume they were passing by some Silicon Valley big tech workstation office thing. The man has a keen eye for football. I mean, to believe that you can win trophies, bring in solid recruitment, and turn a profit. I think that's the holy trinity of any club's transfer policy, or it should be. You know, you never want to be in debt. You don't want to be Barcelona or Real Madrid. You don't want to be Barcelona or Real Madrid, okay? Look at how badly they've done. Look at Juve. Juve's salaries throughout the past couple of years have been insane. They've been overpaying certain players a huge amount. Look at how furious their fan base has been over that. All it ever takes is the right amount of money, the right call, and the football minds. And all of that needs to be enabled. Lille have been a perfect example of the success of grassroots football, of football in and of itself, because that is football. I mean, you can have all the money you want. If you don't know what to do with it, you might as well just sit next to it and burn it. It's that simple. You know, I commend Galtier. I genuinely am very interested by this man's side. He's built a very good team from scratch. He's built a very good team from the fact that he and Luis Campos have worked in tandem to recover from certain players walking out, turning a profit on them, and having the right amount of attention to detail to react, because it's always been about how you're going to react to a certain situation that determines how well you're going to do. Excuse me. It's all about the reaction, and Lille have done so brilliantly. You know, if there are any Lille fans here or any neutrals, you should genuinely be happy about this Lille side. Seriously. I am. I mean, in France, I look more to Lyon, but look at how badly they've done. And the most ironic thing, Lyon and Nice, who played each other on the last game on the last match day in the last game of the season, fired both of their managers, and they both want Galtier. I don't think he's ever going to go to either side now that he's won league. And if Campos decides to stay at Lille, they are most likely going to build a much stronger side ahead of next season. They'll probably have much more pull. They'll have that it factor, you know? They're much more relevant than they've been in a very long time. And if they actually capitalize on that properly, then I'd like to see them go on a run similar to that of Ajax in the Champions League a couple of seasons ago. And hopefully that'll be the case. And this is where I'm going to end this video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments below about anything I've said in this video, what you think about Lille winning the title, their title celebrations. The people in Lille have been extremely thrilled, and they really should be. Just congratulations to everyone involved. This is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. I'm excited. So, yeah, anyways, please do me the favor of following us on any of our social media accounts. The links are in the description below. Again, like, subscribe, and comment. I've noticed that most of the percentage of people watching are people who aren't subscribed to the channel, so please do me the favor of subscribing if you enjoy our content. And I will see you next time the whistle blows.